The article is really interesting as well, right? I'm gonna try to read some of it. Uh, this is a really long like profile. It gives us some insight about him. I'm gonna try to get to the interesting part. We're not gonna read the whole thing. Control Galden wrote his first song in fourth grade. He still remembers how it started. He giggles and he launches. And by the way, I see some people talking about the paint and nails, some of his demeanors. Um, I don't know if Youngboy ever really took hard drugs like that, but a lot of what I believe we're seeing with Youngboy is somebody who is finally down from all the bullshit. I think there was a point he was numb to certain shit, and I think he's starting to feel again. And that's often the feeling with drugs when you constantly take it. Like it'll numb you from, sometimes trauma, sometimes mental stuff you're going through. It might numb you from a lot of things in your life, but um, and maybe that numbness could be seen by fans to be like, damn, this nigga don't give a fuck, right? And honestly, to tell the truth, fans love when they see an artist where they're like, he don't give a fuck. To keep it real, a lot of the conversations that surrounds some of the artists like Youngboy, and I'm talking about rappers who rap about certain type of content, people always having this conversation about who's the toughest, right? So like if whoever gives the fuck the least is the toughest in your mind, right? Um, and yeah, maybe some people are legit psychopaths. Like it appears that King Von was just a psychopath, right? But maybe certain people are just they're self medicating themselves so much they appear to be that, and not that one is more than the other. But I think this article was really dope because it showed it made you understand a lot of Youngboy's actions were reactions to things that happened in his life. He wasn't just born some nigga who was rapping about, yo, he can't wait to kill people. You get what I mean? Anyway, it says, yo, in fourth grade, he still remembers how it goes as he giggles and launches in. He says, it goes, pussy niggas always say in my face, bang, bang, bang. There go the murder case. And I keep saying it. He says, growing up in North Baton Rouge, his mother, an amateur rapper herself, under the name Miss Sharonda, would bring Kentrell and his older sister to watch her neighbor record in a home studio. His father was sentenced 55 years for armed robbery when he was 8. God damn. Years later, when a teenager, Golden was locked up himself for a 2014 robbery charge. He received a letter from another jail, from his father, telling his son about his own musical dabblings. I never had a plan B. This is what I was set on becoming. His narrow frame engulfed in a skull-patterned puffer jacket, a tangle of diamonds flash underneath. His early songs inspired a school friend to write his own. Youngboy smiles, remembering the two giddily trading rhymes before class. But he died, he adds. He adds, barely breaking his gaze. If I'm not mistaken, there was robbing someone, and as he took off, he met his consequence. In Baton Rouge, in Youngboy's rap, is rife with mortal danger, a place where death and an old acquaintance and betrayal lurks around every corner. In 2016, on 38 Baby, around the time the rapper Local Buzzers Go National, Youngboy half sang, half rapped, got the law up my ass, demons in my dreams, claiming to not even stepped in a recording booth unarmed. It was startling to see who was behind such a nihilistic worldview. A gangly teen whose baby face was marked with 3 times across the forehead with scars from a halo brace after breaking his neck as a toddler. Huh. Is that why he has a dent in his head? I don't know. Okay. Artist Partner Group CEO Mike Karen, who worked for years with Youngboy's former label Atlantic, and the artist's own Never Broke Again imprint, remains his publisher. Never Broke Again, and remains his own publisher, right? Remembers his first time seeing the 38 Baby video. The intensity was so powerful. Well, okay, we don't care what that nigga says. No disrespect. Let's go into some other shit. Okay, it was his pain music, in particular, that draw the first attention of Kyle Montana, Claiborne, a wisecracking 36-year-old Baton Rouge native. Youngboy's songs were only available on YouTube in 2016 when the two met. Montana was twice Youngboy's age. The music hit him hard. I wasn't a rapper, but I wanted to live like a rapper, he says. And with no real industry experience, he became the 16-year-old's right-hand man, driving him hours to show for $500 a pop. Youngboy's buzz was steadily building on YouTube and Instagram, back when followers was real and organic, Montana stresses. Meanwhile, he was recording enough music to drop an album per week, propelled by a private urgency. The Never Broke Again label was created in Montana's name since Youngboy was a minor. Today, they share ownership of the company, which partnered with Motown in 2021, a year ahead of Youngboy's solo deal with the label. In 2016, the pair traveled to New Orleans to meet in a parking lot with Fee Banks. Yeah, Fee's like pretty much one of the guys in the mix. Who helped Lil Wayne launch Young Money label and manage Gates to stardom. Banks saw Youngboy as similar greatness and immediately took over as his manager. Youngboy was moving so fast, but he had a lot of drama attached to him. As soon as I got in touch with him, he went to jail. Anything he got into, we got him out. And every time he got out of jail, he got bigger. Through all the trials and tribulations, we kept moving, kept recording, kept shooting videos, stayed down. Youngboys, are y'all good, chat? I see. I see a couple people arguing about ads and stuff like that. Yo, if we have any gifters, man, try to bless them boys, man. Youngboy's buzz had caught the ear of another Louisiana native, Brian Birdman Williams, who co-founded Cash Money and mentored Lil Wayne. Williams recalled flying a teenage Youngboy to Miami, where they recorded daily for 2 weeks, working on what would eventually become their 2021 collaborative album, From the Bayou. Watching how fast he does music and the value of music, I saw a lot of similarities between him and Wayne. I saw stardom in him, but I knew it was a process. He made it a mission to impress upon a teenager that he had a choice, the life that he was raised in or the music. I was once somebody like him, and I had to gamble my life. I wanted to show him that he could really survive off his talent. He continues, you could go to jail, or you could die, or you could try to be somebody. As he does with Wayne, he refers to Youngboy as a son. By the time labels that entered a bidding war, Youngboy was a cult hero with 8 mixtapes under his belt. He's also a teenager, father of 3, being tried as an adult for attempted murder, facing a life without parole. He had been apprehended before a show in Austin, accused of a non-fatal Baton Rouge shooting that occurred hours after a friend's murder. After 6 months awaiting trial, he ultimately took a plea deal in 2017 at the sentencing, by which point he had committed to a $2 million deal from Atlantic. The judge cited his music as a means of normalizing violence. I think we all know this. He received a 10-year suspended prison sentence with 3 years probation. More disturbing allegations emerged in the years to follow, including kidnapping, assault, and weapons charges tied to a 2018 incident recorded in a hotel hallway showing the rapper attacking his girlfriend. One night in prison while Youngboy was on lockdown for disciplinary reasons, he prayed to see his late grandmother, for one last time. He had lived in her home for much of his childhood, crying on the occasions when he had to return to his mom's house. Her name, Elise Gaulden, frequently appears in his lyrics, and her massive painted portrait hangs by the fireplace. After an interview, I catch him smiling beneath it in silence. One hand rested on the image of her face, and I remember, I ain't crazy. She hugged me. I felt her. He recalled softly. And despite serene expression, his legs began to tremble, at first subtle, then unignorably. After I didn't want to go back to sleep, I didn't even care about the situation I was in. I felt like I was secure. His grandmother died in 2010, and Youngboy was sent to a group home. He said, I used to get beat up inside the group home for no reason. He continues as the shaking intensifies. Though his quiet voice never falters. The other boys would put their hands on me, and I would look up like, why you hit me, bro? What'd I do? It made me discover another side of me that I never glorified or liked. I found out how to be the person that you don't want to do that with. Before then, I never understand all the evilness or wrong because I was showered with so much love from this one person. By now, Youngboy is shaking from head to toe with alarm and intensity. His jewelry is audibly rattling. It's not going to stop. He calmly replies when I suggest we take a break. Quintina, who began as his accountant and now appears to also function as a surrogate mother, kneels beside his chair and holds his hand. I'm okay, Youngboy assures her, composing himself. Although the trembling continues, he focuses his gaze. I'm very scared right now, he confesses. It's just natural. I'm not big on people. For most of his life, expressing or explaining himself as has taken place behind a microphone. I never knew why once I walked on stage I could get it done and leave, but I'm terrified of people. People are cruel. This is a cruel place. He swivels in his seat towards the blue and white panorama behind him. You've got to be thankful for it. It's beautiful, you know? There's so much you can experience inside of it, but it's a cruel place, and it's not my home. The smile he cracks has a strange effect, sweetness embedded in a wince. I don't know what it means to die. But do we actually die, or do we go on to the real life? What if we're just asleep right now? He wonders aloud as the shaking dies down. It's all a big test, I think. Is this him and his wife, right? Perhaps you're wondering how a Baton Rouge rapper on house arrest finds himself deep in blah blah Mormon County. Those listening closely may have noticed Youngboy name dropping Utah's capital from the beginning. Take a trip to Salt Lake City, cross the mountain, because that's called living. He chirped on kicking shit 7 years ago. He first came here as a boy, he explains, as part of the Youth Outreach Program initiative. He became very close with it. One of the leaders, a Utah native he declines to name, though he mentioned she was married at the time to a professional baseball player. Today he refers to the woman as his mom. She's a wonderful person. She's just there when I need her, he says softly. She christened me, and if I'm not mistaken, she brought me back here to meet her family. When I got here, it was always my goal. I'm going to move here. I'm going to have a home here. This is where my family's going to be. Courtroom testimony from his 2021 hearing shows his attorneys reasoning that a permanent move to Utah would keep the client away from trouble. After some initial skepticism, the judge actually agreed. Past few months of Youngboy's songs are full of curious Utah-isms like Book of Mormon passage that opens his video for high haters. Now, as my mind caught hold upon this thought, I cried within my heart, O Jesus, thou Son of God, have mercy on me. Who am I in the gall of bitterness and encircled about the everlasting chains of death? Or a recent line mentioned as missionaries visited his home. I'm surprised they didn't come in the process of this interview, he says when I ask about the latter reference. The first time the Mormon missionaries appeared on his doorsteps weeks ago, Youngboy instinctively sent them away. Then he had second thoughts. I wanted help very badly. I needed a friend, and it hit me. When they all returned, he invited them in, explained the things about himself that he was desperate to change. It was just cool to see someone with a different mindset that had nothing to do with business or money. Just these wonderful souls. He's come to look forward to their daily visits, during which they discuss the Book of Mormon and make sure my heart is in the right space. For his official baptism in the Church of Jesus Christ, the Latter-day Saints, a rite that forgives past sins through repentance according to Mormon theology. Everybody's good, by the way, chat? Yeah, I know I'm just reading here. I just feel like we're in class, right? He's saving the ceremony for after his ankle monitor is removed. He says, even when my negative thoughts come back, when I do want to tell them, not today, I just don't let nothing stop it, he says. Later, I learned during our talk, 2 carloads of chipper, clean-cut missionaries in their early 20s did, in fact, appear at the property's gate and were turned away only due to the visitor limit. As for whether the missionaries know who he is, Youngboy doesn't ask, frankly. Could go either way. He epitomizes invisible music stardom, the streaming era phenomenon in which artists have massive fan base but relatively minor pop culture footprints, illustrating the disjunction between what's promoted and what's actually resonating. Okay, his particular successes are often attributed to the to his relentless productivity, in some ways more than that of a content creator than a traditional musician. I've never heard of a fan saying that their favorite artist is putting out too much music unless the music quality goes down, says Karen. It's my Karen. Noting Youngboy's impressive consistency. As for his lack of a ubiquitous hit, for all his chart-topping full lengths and 96 Hot 100 entries, the highest Youngboy has ever charted as a solo lead artist is number 28 for 2020's Little Top and 2021's Bad Morning. Okay, Karen argues he has had them, just not in the places they expect. He said he moves too fast for the radio. He was always on to the next thing. You can't stick around and promote the same songs for 5 months when you're making multiple albums in that time period. That's facts. And this number, and though his numbers are mighty across all streaming platforms, on Spotify he has over 17 million monthly listeners, popularity is more associated with YouTube, where his fans found him first, where he could upload new music directly to his 12.1 million subscribers, bypassing the mainstream industry apparatus entirely. It was Youngboy's peerless work ethic that grabbed the attention of Motown VP Kenoa Jordan. The Grammy-nominated producer and fellow Baton Rouge native had monitored the rapper's career from jump, impressed by what the teenager did, blah, 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 blah. Okay. All right, let me see. I don't want to read redundancy and shit. Youngboy calls Jordan calls Youngboy and company some of the hardest working people in the industry, known to spring an impromptu album on the label without warning. His formula is already there. He knows what he wants. You just have to make sure you're able to deliver the things that he asks you to do. Youngboy's partners have simply learned to trust him, whether or not they see the vision. Montana laughs about remembering nights spent driving to undisclosed locations. He do some of the oddest things, and nobody knows why he's doing them but him. As strategies goes, Youngboys make sense. Flood the market, circumvent the system, keep the fans and the algorithm satiated. But it doesn't explain why he puts out as much music as he does. What analysts would credit to the master plan, Youngboy describes as a compulsion. It's a disease, he says starkly. Literally, I cannot help myself. I tell myself sometimes I'm not going to drop until months from now, but it's addictive. I wish I knew when I was younger how unhealthy this was for me. Whatever type of energy I had inside of me, I would have pushed it towards something else. From someone whose music seems like his truest form of his release, it's astonishing claim. The music is therapy, but I can stop it when I want, he goes on. And the lifestyle is just a big distraction from your real purpose. As if some private dam is broken, Youngboy words now spills out urgently. I'm at a point in my life now where I know hurting people is not the way, and I feel manipulated. Even at this moment, I was set on being the greatest at what I did and I spoke about. Man, I was flooded with millions from the time I was 16, woke up like, damn, they got me. I would love to have a spiritual conversation with Youngboy. You see, what he's talking about here reminds me of the convo I had with him on the phone when he was telling me he wasn't going to sign back with Atlantic. And he kept saying certain things to me. He's like, yo, Ak, it's not about the money. Don't you realize, like, I'm just a slave for them. He's like, yo, if I can't own my shit, I don't want it no more. He was talking like that then. And I remember saying, I'm like, nigga, what about this amount of money? And I was like, and he was just like, yeah, man, nah, they've offered me this. I don't want it. I want to own my shit. And he's like, essentially he was just saying that why create the music anymore if he couldn't own it? So, it looked like some of it is probably some education. Some of it is probably some spiritual awakening. You know what I mean? But look at this. He said, yo, they made me do their dirty work. Man, look at the shit I put in these people's ears. By day, he's alluding to the rappers he wants to look up to as examples of how to live and those who bankroll him. His voice wavers and steadies. I think about how many lives I'm actually responsible for when it comes to my music. How many girls I got feeling like if you don't go about a situation that's your boyfriend bringing on you in his way, you're wrong. How many people have put this shit in their ears that actually went and hurt someone, or how many kids felt like they needed to go tote a gun and walk out the house and tote it the wrong way. Now he's fixing to sit here and do years of his life that he can't get back. A shiver streaks through him again, rattling his knees. I was brought up around a lot of fucked up shit. That's what I knew. And that's what I gave back to the world. I was like, fuck the world before they fuck you. I was a child, you know? And now I know better, so ain't no excuse for all of that, how I carry on today. Because Glaze doesn't flinch. It took lots of time to make my music strong enough to get it to the point I could captivate you. I promise to clean whatever I could clean, but it's going to take time. Just like it took time for me to get to that point. I was wrong, and I'm sorry, and I'm sorry. Okay. Goddamn. Somebody said Dear Diary type vibes. All right. Let me see. Youngboy music is completely misunderstood, a brooding, ruthless, retaliatory. I'm trying to get to some good shit. Okay, here we go. So he told me I Hate Youngboy. It's a specter that looms over the bulk of his catalog, from early videos where his teenage friends wave Glocks at the camera to songs like Last Year I Hate Youngboy, where he fires warning shots at half the industry and drops ominous bars like he's going to be rich inside his casket when he's gone. It's tough to imagine what a pacifist Youngboy might sound like, much less of an entire album about it. And a recent attempt at anti-violence messaging haven't landed the way he intended. As I start to promote peace and say, stop the violence, I think I'm inciting a riot. He rapped on This Is Not a Song. This is for my supporters. Pacifist Youngboy isn't fully realized on his latest record, I Rest My Case, his first from Motown, which he dropped with almost no promotion on January 6th. It was the day before his wedding to Michelle, or Michelle, I don't know how you say her name, a 20-year-old beauty YouTuber who quietly tends to the babies in between posing for a few photos. At his insistence during the cover shoot. But it's a step in the right direction. An album that mostly traffics in extravagant stunting over buzzsaw synths associated with EDM/trap hybrid known as rage music. To celebrate its release, Youngboy invited around 50 giddy fans around a snowball fight, jumping atop his Bentley truck to blast album opener Black from the court-approved safety of the driveway. The noisy crowd dispersed only when a couple emerged from the next door to request they keep it down. It's a lot of old people here, really. The same one who had driven curiously, a poncho-clad blonde, the same one who had driven curiously past the house weeks before, cheerfully tells a TikTok reporter, if he comes and asks, would you spare him a cup of flour? The TikToker asks, he said, of course we would. Okay. I Rest My Case is all right, bro. Am I reading too much? This is actually interesting to me. I ain't gonna lie. So I would read this like if I wasn't on stream. I Rest My Case is an obvious departure lyrically and aesthetically from what Youngboy fans are used to across the internet. Early reactions were mixed. Some praised their favorite rapper's innovation. Others longed for the old days. Youngboy's previous album, The Last Slimito, debuted last August at number 2 on the Billboard charts at 108 units sold. According to Illuminate, just in 5 months later, I Rest My Case debuted number 9 with 29,000 units sold. Be completely honest. Do you want YB back on drugs? Or what? Do you want YB back on drugs, toting guns? If it means we gonna get the old YB back, read one Reddit post. Youngboy expected this. I'm very curious to see how the world goes about me now, he contemplated weeks before in his living room, adding that he tried to avoid the usual mentions of guns, though there were still a few. He has thought about a lot of what attracted people to his music until now. They listened because of who I supposedly was, or showed I was, and what I rapped about. Now it's nail polish and face paint, and the music ain't the same. Lately, alongside the black nails, he and Michelle like to paint their face like goth jokers and skulk around the property at night. What if they don't like me now, he wonders. You can't be on top forever, you know? Because I'm not changing. I won't be provoked. I won't be broken. I'm not going back what I used to be. Accept it or not, I ain't going back. I'm only going to get more groovy from here. He's already prepping his next album, which he's calling Don't Try This at Home. Only once does Youngboy remember it's snowing in Baton Rouge. Here in the mountains, this time of year, it sits at least 2 feet deep daily. After checking briefly on the babies, he lights a cigarette and beckons me through his garage and down the wooded dirt bike track, yelping for EXO to join us. Out here is a postcard, white trees and white mountains, ice blue sky. Everyone's up in their knees in snow. No one's more excited about it than Youngboy, whose ripped white jeans and jacket have now become camouflage. He points the animated to his bike path, goes, yo, I don't know why I'm like excited and like reading this shit. It's almost done though. He points the animated to where the bike path goes, a clearing path where you could do donuts. He says 5K for a snow angel. He dares EXO, who came hardly prepared in a hoodie and slides. Just fall back, but at least put your hood on. EXO topples backwards into a puff of powder and sweeps out an angel silhouette to Youngboy's delight, and the two laugh as they tramp back uphill. As for what will happen when his ankle monitor is removed, Youngboy would rather not think about it. No date is currently scheduled for his remaining federal trial, according to the email from his lawyer, because the government is appealing the court ruling on our motion to suppress evidence. And that matter is pending before the United States Fifth Circuits of Appeal. They declined to comment on his bail conditions. The day I walk out that door and I'm a free man to do what I want, is going to be a lot of doing, or it will be done to me. So I'm not rushing back into that. I have a family, and he doesn't plan on leaving Utah anytime soon, though eventually he would like to buy a place with even more land where no one knows what's going on it. He has spoken previously about his disinterest in touring, but might reconsider if shows were overseas where he could see some new places, because he always wanted to travel and see the Eiffel Tower, especially since watching Ratatouille. Ask what he looks forward to the most. He hesitates for a moment. He says change. He replies softly, I'm curious about the person who I shall become. Hey, let me give you my quick takeaway. Youngboy's a fucking genius, okay? I think a lot of this stuff is natural. I think this is a lot of organic shit by Youngboy. But let me tell you this: when you are an artist like Youngboy, who, let me kind of juxtapose, his career to like a Future or like a Drake, being a little bit mysterious. YB is more comparable to like Cardi than like a Drake. Like I think Drake goes like, of course, he doesn't do a bunch of interviews and shit, but Drake is like, is Drake mysterious? Like I don't even, what I mean? Like there's this edge and like with, I'm trying to explain this the right way. I think XXXTentacion, Playboy Cardi, and definitely Youngboy, there's something about all three of them that they make great music, and you're wondering what drives them to be the person that creates this. And the more you try to find out, the more elusive they become. So the more you think you're getting it, the more they flip it on you. The more you thought, okay, this is what Youngboy is. Now everyone's like, yo, the weirder he's becoming. The more people thought, oh, Cardi, baby voice, the different his music became. And I think the same with X too. Like, X, you can't really wrap your mind around these particular individuals. And I think it's a sign of just natural greatness. But also, I've seen a lot of people try to copy the formula of these three guys who I believe are doing it organically. And those people, they're always asking questions like, damn, how do they get to have a fan base like Cardi or Youngboy or X or whatever the case is? And I see some of them try to do this. Oh, let me paint my fingernails. Let me do this. Youngboy's just a different motherfucker, man. Just like X was just a different motherfucker. You know what I mean? Just like, obviously, Billboard didn't do an article on him at the time, but like I remember talking to him You know what it's like when you FaceTime a nigga and he has no fucking eyebrows and he has a tree right in the middle of his head, and the nigga is telling you, yo, like, I gotta make myself ugly, and you're like, nigga, what are you talking about right now? You know what I mean? But for him, it was a spiritual journey he was going through, and I think Youngboy's going through a journey as well. All right, so yeah. Anyway, somebody says, yo, Faye Part 2. I see y'all want to see it. It's all good. Yo, I want to salute to Youngboy, and the reason I'm saluting to him is because you can't name another rapper who has promoted a lot of violence, who has taken accountability that Youngboy is attempting to do, who's promising that he's going to change. You get what I mean? And it's trying to build a platform on changing. You get what I mean? Yes, we've seen rappers say they're going to stop talking about violence, right? But I don't know if they've stood on it. You get what I mean? Like, I don't know if they've actually stood on it. I think Youngboy is going to, maybe I'm a little biased because I'm cool with him, but he seems sincere about it. He seems transparent about it. And it's easy when you've made your millions off of promoting violence to say, all right, I'm done doing it now. But the transparency of him saying, I made this music because I was hurt, and I'm realizing how much I'm hurting people, and I just hate doing it. I don't want to do it no more. That's accountability. You get what I mean? So, salute to Youngboy.